بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah in today's episode we'll be discussing this classical masterpiece written by Allama Iqbal rahimahullah. ستاروں سے آگے جہاں اور بھی ہے، ابھی عشق کے امتحاں اور بھی ہیں، تہی زندگی سے نہیں یہ فضائیں، یہاں سینکڑوں کارواں اور بھی ہیں. قناعت نہ کر عالم رنگ و بو پر، قناعت نہ کر عالم رنگ و بو پر، چمن اور بھی آشیاں اور بھی ہیں. اگر کھو گیا ایک نشیمن تو کیا غم، اگر کھو گیا ایک نشیمن تو کیا غم، مقامات آہ فغاں اور بھی ہیں. تو شاہیں ہے پرواز ہے کام تیرا، تیرے سامنے آسماں اور بھی ہیں. اسی روز شب میں الجھ کر نہ رہ جا کہ تیرے زمان و مکاں اور بھی ہیں. گئے دن کے تنہا تھا میں انجمن میں، گئے دن کے تنہا تھا میں انجمن میں، یہاں اب میرے رازداں اور بھی ہیں.
إذا ما قال لي ربي أما استحييت تعصيني وتخفي الذنب عن خلقي وبالعصيان تأتيني فكيف أجيب يا ويحي ومن ذا سوف يحميني أسلي النفس بالآمال من حين إلى حين.
Allama Iqbal rahimahullah begins by saying, ستاروں سے آگے جہاں اور بھی ہے. He says there's more to existence than what the eye could see, what the brain could imagine, what we could feel. That even if we don't see light beyond the tunnel, that light exists, it's there somewhere. It doesn't matter how dark and gloomy our situation looks like, and we may feel like, oh, we can never get out of this. He says, no. ستاروں سے آگے جہاں اور بھی ہے. That yes, when you look up at the sky, all you could see is the stars. But beyond these stars, there's another whole existence. There's many other skies. You can't see them, but they do exist. And just like how they definitely exist, whatever problem you're in life right now, beyond that there's a light, and it definitely exists. He says, تو شاہیں ہے پرواز ہے کام تیرا. Because by your creation, Allah created you as a falcon. And your job by your creation is just to fly up and up and up. It doesn't go down. A human being is just supposed to go up and up and up. تیرے سامنے آسماں اور بھی ہیں. Right when you get to the first sky, he says, well, there's another sky after that. You get to the second sky, there's another sky after that. And you continue to go up. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard someone making dua for Jannah, he said, فَاسْأَلُ اللَّهَ الْفِرْدَوْسَ الْأَعْلَى. He said, don't aspire for that first sky, huh? Don't aspire for that just normal average Jannah. The Prophet said, if you're going to aspire and work and make dua for something, ask Allah for Jannatul Firdaus. Ask Allah for that, because a believer, he aspires to be the greatest. A believer, he aspires to get the best. A believer doesn't settle for second or third place. He aspires to get first to Jannatul Firdaus. So Allama Iqbal says, تو شاہیں ہے پرواز ہے کام تیرا، تیرے سامنے آسماں اور بھی ہیں. And then he continues to say, قناعت نہ کر عالم رنگ و بو پر. Whatever situation you're in life, maybe sometimes you're in a good situation. Everything seems good. He says, don't be content with the flavors and colors of this life. That a human being should never be content with his situation. He never should. Contentment is poison for a human being. قناعت نہ کر عالم رنگ و بو پر، چمن اور بھی آشیاں اور بھی ہیں. Even if you are living in a good life, in a prosperous life, and everything seems good around you, remember, chaman aur bhi, ashiyan aur bhi hain. There's a better garden somewhere. There's a better nest somewhere. There's more to get in life than that. Maybe you're living a good life, but how about making other people's lives better for them? You could do things to make a garden for other people. He says, don't just be content with what you're in your life and your situation. And then he says, isi roz shab mein ulajh kar na reh ja. Don't just get lost in today. Don't get lost in your moment. Don't get lost in that. Don't look down too much and just keep on moving, because the moment you start looking down and you forget where you were, then you forget all the blessings that Allah has blessed you with. He says, کہ تیرے زمان و مکاں اور بھی ہیں. because your existence and the time for your pleasure and enjoyment is something else as well. So the first theme, he pushes us to struggle and keep on moving forward and progressing in the eyes of Allah. Second thing, in this struggle, he mentions the fact that in this struggle towards Allah, the second line he says, ابھی عشق کے امتحاں اور بھی ہیں. Definitely, when a person is struggling to get closer to Allah, or he's in life and he's moving in life, there's going to be tests. He's going to go through difficulties. He says, yes, you went through one test, there's going to be another test. Allah says, Alif Lam Mim, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. He says, is it possible that people can proclaim that they're Muslims, they believe in Allah, and they won't be tested? While all the prophets before us were tested, while the Prophet ﷺ was tested over and over again. Yes, today, you go to a mother or father that lost one child, and we cannot even imagine, we cannot feel the pain of a parent, a father or mother who had to bury their own child. They had 3 children, and I know a family, parents that had 3 children, and 2 of them passed away already, and the 3rd one is suffering terminal disease. And when I met this family, all I could say to them is, remember, I cannot sympathize, I cannot feel your pain in its truest form. But remember, the Prophet ﷺ was a man who had 7 children, and he buried 6 of them with his own hands. If you ever go to Jannatul Ma'la in Makkah al-Mukarramah, and you see the grave where Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha is buried, next to her grave is a small little grave of Qasim radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Imagine the emotions the Prophet ﷺ was going through when he was burying his son. When Ibrahim radiallahu anhu passed away, and the Prophet ﷺ had him in his hand, and he was also burying him, he started to cry. And someone said, what is these tears, O Prophet of Allah? He said, هَذَا شَوْقُ الْحَبِيبِ إِلَى الْحَبِيبِ. These are the tears that are flowing down my eyes because I lost a beloved. The Prophet ﷺ said, أُوذِيتُ فِي اللَّهِ مَا لَمْ يُؤْذَ أَحَدٍ. I have been put through such difficulty that nobody in this world will ever be put through such difficulties. So my dear brothers and sisters, Allama Iqbal is saying, ابھی عشق کے امتحاں اور بھی ہیں. Then he says, اگر کھو گیا ایک نشیمن تو کیا غم. ابھی اگر کھو گیا ایک نشیمن تو کیا غم. If we have lost something in this life, why are you worried? Why are you worried? مقامات آہو فغاں اور بھی ہیں. There's other moments where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring us closer and closer to Him. Like, then he mentions the fact that all the struggle that we're doing, remember, at the end of the day, when we come on the Day of Judgment and we have struggled in its truest form and we've been through this difficulty, then we will be among those who Allah has mentioned about us. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٌ. There will be some faces on the Day of Judgment when they see the results of their efforts, of their patience, of their tolerance, their faces will be brimming with happiness. And this word na'ima literally refers to a person who comes out of a struggle and then sees joy. The example that's given is a person, what would be the facial reaction? What will be the expression on that person's face who lived 10 years behind bars in a prison? And after 10 years, Allah gave him freedom and he came out of prison. The expression on his face is unexplainable. This is going to be the expression on the face of a believer after being restricted in this life and going through struggles, and he goes in front of Allah, and that expression on his face will be unexplainable. The example of a person who comes from the Caribbean and he's studying for his step 1, step 2, and he's struggling and he's struggling and he's struggling, and people that are senior to him say, don't worry, it's going to be worth it at the end of the day. All the struggle will be worth it, don't worry. And finally he applies and he fills up all these applications to all these different hospitals for residency programs, and he's waiting and waiting. And finally, when he gets accepted to a residency program, the expression on his face is unexplainable. All that struggle today was worth it. So Allama Iqbal says, Agar kho gaya ek nashemand to kya gham. What happens if you lost something? Just keep on moving, keep on moving. Then finally he says, Gaye din ke tanhā tha mein anjumn mein. At the beginning of our journey of struggling to get closer to Allah, and we're especially a person who's going through depression and stress, at that time, he seems like he's all alone, a lot of loneliness. He says, those days, as you start progressing towards Allah, those days start moving away. Those days are gone when I was all alone. یہاں اب میرے رازداں اور بھی ہیں. Now as I'm progressing in the struggle towards Allah, now I have more people that I can speak to, I can talk to. And he's referring to those angels. He's referring to Allah. إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. That now I can complain to Allah. He's listening to me. And now these angels who Allah puts the love for this man in their heart, he says, when Allah loves somebody, he calls Jibreel, he said, this is my person, I love him, you love him as well. So he says, now I have all these people who I can speak to, and they can listen to me. And he says one thing interesting about them, he says the word Rازداں. These are secret keepers. If I tell them my problems, if I tell them my issues, they're great at keeping secrets. They don't go tell the world what my problems are. Today we can't trust anybody, because if I tell him my issue, he may tell other people. But we can trust Allah. So this journey towards Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, this poem is so profound. 7-8 minutes cannot do justice to this. But I tried in this poem to explain some of the themes that Allama Iqbal is trying to deliver to this ummah. May Allah make it easy for us to act upon whatever was said and live this life and continue to progress towards Allah. And whatever difficulties come our way, be tolerant and be patient, because definitely on the Day of Judgment, when we see the results of our actions, how Allah says, لِسَعِيهَا رَاضِيَةً, will be pleased with what we did. Allah make us among those. وَآخُرُ دَعْوَانَا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّل عَالَمِينَ.